You know, one thing you got to know about those Cuban boxers, if you don't know, Cuban boxers are excellent counter punchers, and usually they're not in a situation where they don't know what they're doing. For example, during the 7th round, the final round of Luis Ortiz, WBA interim champion versus undefeated, by the way, versus Bryant Jennings, who fought Wladimir Klitschko, also from Philadelphia. It was the closest that Bryant Jennings actually got to fighting the fight that he wanted to fight. But I was wondering to myself, well, why is Luis Ortiz allowing him to stay on the inside like this? Why not throw the uppercuts that he was throwing earlier in the fight? And it seems as though the uppercut was the weapon of choice, which was the damaging blow, not the knockout punch, but it was the punch that put Bryant Jennings down and hurt him a little bit earlier in the fight. So I was thinking to myself, well, why not throw the uppercut? This was in the 7th round. What does he do? He starts throwing like a little pity pat uppercut combination, backs off, Bryant Jennings still pressing the action, and then just hit him with a mean. And I'm watching the replay right now. I wish I could show it to you. Hit him with a mean 1-2 uppercut combination. And then, but you know, Bryant Jennings is good. But it's just that when it comes to fighting a fighter that can actually... Bryant Jennings is a pressure fighter. He's a pressure fighter, power puncher. He's a fighter that's going to keep, you know, pressing the action and coming forward. So he's not as... So basically for a counter puncher, all you got to do is wait for him to make a mistake or capitalize off his mistakes. But it's sad seeing him get knocked out. I interviewed him a few times, you know. And it's going to be crazy to see where he goes from here. Because now he's got to take a couple levels back because this is his second straight title fight. I'm waiting to see if they're going to give him a post-fight interview. This is his second straight title fight, and he actually made Wladimir Klitschko look old, or did fight a better fight against Wladimir Klitschko at the time, who was the champion, than anybody else who had fought Klitschko in a long time, especially the fact that he didn't get knocked out. What is Luis Ortiz going to say? I don't know. I believe he's going to say what he should say, is that he wants Tyson Fury, you know, or he wants Deontay Wilder. If you don't know, Tyson Fury is the WBA and WBO champion of the world at heavyweight. The IBF title is currently vacant. It's going to be a fighter by the name of Zara Glaskov versus Charles Martin is going to be fighting for that on the undercard of Wilder versus Spielka. If you look at Bryant Jennings' resume, when you look at Artur Spielka, Mike Perez, Wladimir Klitschko, and Luis Ortiz, he's got a nice resume. So even though he has this one loss, this one knockout loss, there's still fights out there for him. But what does he have to improve on? Well, there's really not much you can say he has to improve on. Let me read the CompuBox numbers. 136 of 327, 42% for Bryant Jennings. Accurate. 128 of 441, 29% for Luis Ortiz. That was in the total punches. Now, heavyweights throw about that, you know, amount of punches. I'm surprised to see that Bryant Jennings was more accurate, but he was just fighting on the inside, to where Luis Ortiz was fighting on the back foot and trying to counterpunch. And Bryant Jennings had excellent head movement during this fight. So I can understand why Luis Ortiz only threw at a rate of 29%. 130 of 276, 47%. For Bryant Jennings in power punches, 109 of 268, 41% of for Luis Ortiz. And the reason why is, you know, Cuban boxers normally have a very good jab. Cuban boxers are fighters who are somewhat best suited fighting off the back foot. They can fight going backwards because a lot of times what they're doing is they're trying to counterpunch you and get you to, or bait you into a mistake. Let's hear what he has to say.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. I'm 100%.
He did juice in the past, though.
Early in the fight, in the first round, again in the third round, I believe it was.
He got asthma.
But in between, he was having some success. What was going on?
Él es un boxeador que, como quiera que sea, merece su respeto. Que no todo el mundo ha llegado a pelear los 8 asaltos con Klitschko. Él logró su objetivo.
He's a fighter who deserves his respect, much respect. You know, not anybody goes 12 rounds with Klitschko.
Yo tengo mi escuela y yo estoy adaptado a sobrevivir en cualquier circunstancia. Va a llegar el momento que voy a buscar mi objetivo.
But, you know, I have my training and I have my school, you know, and obviously I'm going to go out and obtain my objective, and I have my training.
Well, if your objective was to vault yourself to the top of the heavyweight division, you've done that. You, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, people see him coming. The division seems wide open.
That's something interesting we're going to talk about.
On top. What do you want next?
Yo dije que hay una nueva era, pero no voy a Dr. Wilder, no sé, los que estén por aquí, los heavyweight que están en lista para ser campeón del mundo, que sepan que yo estoy en la línea y hay que contar con el Dorio Kiko.
I know it's a new era. I told you it's a new era, but I don't see Deontay Wilder anywhere here. But I told you it's a new era, and everyone has to take me into consideration as the heavyweight.
Not long.
Muchos dicen que.
Is that really what he said?
Ahí está el manager. ¿Cómo es lo que para hacer más una palabra mejor, porque yo soy corto de palabras.
We're running out of time.
Basura de
we're running out of time. I can't.
Con asteroide y nada. Yo estoy limpio. Estoy.
You know, man, he said that I took steroids and stuff like that. You know, I'm a man of few words, but I'm a clean man.
By the way, it should be noted that both fighters tested with VADA, the best testing organization we know of, and tested clean. So I know that was important to you.
Yeah, that was important.
What do you want?
He was taking way too long explaining what he wanted to do. So, what he's likely going to do is an Australian fighter by the name of Lucas Bryant is going to be taking on a fighter by the name of Ruslan Chagiev in March of 2016. That's going to be for the WBA World Championship. The Super World Championship, when it comes to the WBA, which Tyson Fury holds, they normally don't, you know, it's not known for them to say, okay, well, you have to fight the WBA World Champion or you have to fight the WBA Interim Champion. It really seems as though they're trying to keep those belts as far away from each other as possible. So it's looking like, oh, well, let's hear what Bryant Jennings has to say. Got to give him, man, respect.
You were giving, in spite of being hurt a couple times, a really good account of yourself. At the end of the fight, it looked like you didn't have your legs, but you knew what was happening.
His face not all beat up.
Knowing that the fight was being stopped. What was going through your mind there?
It was just the fact that, damn, how I keep letting him hit me. But I think that it was me underestimating his, you know, his pedigree, and me thinking that, you know, that my pressure, you know, I was fighting pressure with pedigree. And he outlasted me. And that's pretty much what it was. It wasn't the fact that, you know, the punches were crazy. He just was hitting me clean, and it was, you know, they were good punches. I was rushing, you know, I wasn't on my game, and he got the best of me tonight.
Did you feel at that moment, is one of the reasons you seem to get so upset with yourself, that having been hurt in the first round and then coming back to carry the second round, that you had the ability, if you could get through those bad spots, to go on to win the fight?
Say that again.
Did you feel that you could have gone on to win the fight had you been able to get out of that round the way you won the second round after surviving the first?
Yeah, but then, you know, he started to box a little more, and, you know, I came with the same approach, and I should have switched the approach up. I should have, you know, slowed it down, listened to my corner, you know, and definitely try to wear him down, you know, a little more earlier, but, I just think it was the pedigree that you know, that overpowered, you know, everything that I had to bring to the table.
That Cuban school, you know, that's exactly what I saw. I mean, he got Cuban schooled pretty much, you know, and him saying that he should have slowed it down. Bryant Jennings is not known to have like a good jab, but if he would have slowed it down, then he would have still been going up against the pedigree of Luis Ortiz, because Luis Ortiz, you know, that Cuban school style of boxing, you know, with 300 plus amateur fights, they can slow it down. They prefer, Cuban boxers prefer to fight slow. They excel in a slower pace. Guillermo Rigondeaux will excel in a slower pace. A guy like Iris Lindy Lar, if you allow him to set his feet, you know, they will excel in a slower rate. You know, so it is what it is. Good fight, though. Better heavyweight fight than I actually thought it was going to be. It was good to see that Bryant Jennings now on HBO three times on HBO 3 times. You know, he was formerly an NBC fighter. It's good. Basically, it's good to see that he's actually getting like a lot of recognition now. I'm happy for him. Even though he got knocked out, it wasn't a bad knockout loss. He should fight again within 6 months. And I say, you know, define what belt he's going to go after next, whether he's going to go to IBF path. I think he should go to IBF path. I think he should start fighting guys ranked in the IBF because that's pretty easy pickings. And maybe we can see him versus the winner of Zara Glaskov or Charles Martin, whoever's the champion within the next 2 years or so. So I think right now he should fight again within another 6 months. Bryant Jennings, you know, to get him another fight, even if it's not going to be televised on HBO. Maybe have him fight some international fighters. Maybe get on a Box Nation or Sky Sports or something. I don't know. He can't beat no Anthony Joshua. I don't know yet. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. But Luis Ortiz, however, will give Anthony Joshua some problems. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.